I want to try dialing the gain back just a little bit and see if we can come up with some just solid rock tones. I'm going to share the exact settings you heard in the intro there. I'm also going to share at the end of the video, I'm going to share why it might be really important to dial things back every now and then and play something a little different. We'll talk more about that in our guitar chat at the end. Let's dig into the amp settings here. And again, my goal is just for you to kind of dial something close to what I'm sharing with you into whatever amp or amp sim you're using. So the gain, first thing, I've got the gain on the OD1. This is important. So this amplifier, and if you have a high gain amp, chances are you might have two channels. Even on amp sims, like if you have like an amp sim of, let's say, a Mesa amp, or one of the newer Marshall simulators, or some of the more modern amps, right? You'll probably have two gain channels. So what I would recommend using for more of that rock tone is, first of all, use the first gain channel, okay? And then I'm backing the gain way down. It's at around 4. Right? So not even midway. Now, if your amp that you're using or amp sim, if it's just got one gain channel, you might want to back the gain down even a little further. So for example, I know I had an EVH amp. There was a red channel. It had two channels, but the red channel was like fire breathing gain. If your amp only has that, then try backing that gain down as far as you can, maybe 2 or 3, maybe that might be, too little gain. But anyway, back it down so you're not getting that oversaturated sound. You're hearing more clarity when you let those notes ring out. So again, here, the overdrive 1 channel, which is a little less gain, and I'm backing the gain down. I'll briefly go over my EQ settings, which are nothing special whatsoever. So you can see my treble, that's boosted a bit to about 7, maybe 7.5. My mids in this case are boosted a little as well. Now my bass, that is straight up and down. Now I like the highs in a guitar, not too much. I don't want the fizzy sound, but I do like to boost those quite a bit. Mids, this is where I can go either way. For a lot of the metal stuff that I play, I actually cut the mids just a little. Now, back in the old days, I would, after hearing albums like Justice for All, everybody's like cutting their mids out, just sounded kind of cool, right? But I usually keep my mids around 4. Okay, so I usually do that with the metal stuff. For more of the rock tones, I find that boosting the mids actually helps the tone kind of stand out and just sound a little bit better, to my ears anyway. I want you to understand something though, guys. There's no right or wrong here. So please understand that just because I do my EQ a certain way doesn't mean you have to, doesn't mean you should or should not. It's all personal preference at the end of the day. However, it's also about how the guitar sounds in the overall mix. Now the bass is up and down here. That's just kind of where I leave it. When you're jamming by yourself, sometimes you want to boost the mids because you just get that fullness out of the guitar, right? But oftentimes I'm recording stuff. So when you're recording, you want to watch your lows there, because you don't want that to compete, those low end frequencies from your guitar to compete with the instruments that naturally need to carry those low end frequencies, aka bass guitar, and you've got your kick drum and some toms and that sort of thing. That's going to kind of fill in the spots for those low end frequencies. So you don't want your guitar competing with that. Otherwise you might kind of get a muddy sound. So just my 2 cents on that for recording. Presence, I have the presence boosted a bit as well. I think it's around 6, maybe 6.5, something like that. Now this amplifier has a couple other settings. It's got this ISF feature. I believe that's specific to Black Star. Gives you more of a British or an American tone. This also has a resonance control on it as well. So in that case, if you want to check out the video I have on this amplifier, this specific amp, again, it's the Black Star HT Venue Series MK3. I've got a video. I'll leave the link to that in the description of this video. I didn't want to make this video about this particular amp because I want you to try these settings on whatever you're using. And I'm actually going to let you hear this with another amplifier in a second. I want to see if we can use something completely different with similar settings and kind of get the same feel and tone out of that. Before we do that, I want to share the one setting I changed when I played the guitar solo at the end of the full mix that you heard. how I recorded that real quick for the intro you heard. So I had 2 rhythm tracks and I hard pan each one. I kind of played, pretty much the same thing. I like the little nuances, the little subtle differences between the 2 guitars when you hard pan them like that. That's just how I record in general. To me, that just gives such a full and lively sound. But for the solo part, I actually boosted the gain a little bit. I think I went from 4 to probably around 7 there, and I had a little delay on that as well. So as you can hear, we've got a little bit more push out of that. And that's a good strategy to use if you've got rhythm tracks, maybe back the gain off a little bit. And here's why I like that so much. I want you to listen to something else real quick before we go to the next amplifier. Just listen to how, I'll do some contrast between the high gain with the gain cranked and this gain setting here. I'm going to back the gain back down to about 4. So we've got some full chords that I'm playing, and I like to do this sometimes, And that might sound cool too. I'm not opposed to that, but I know if I were to record that high gain channel playing that style in the mix there, I think that might sound a little muddy. And when I have the overdrive 1 channel with less gain, when the gain backed off, that's going to have more clarity. I'm going to be able to hear those notes ring out a little bit better. Now, real quick, before we go to the next amp, let's go back to the high gain channel, okay? Which we usually, play stuff like. All right, let's back the gain. So let's just say you have an amp that just has high gain, right? Let's back the gain. I've got it cranked here. I usually put a booster in front of this channel as well when I'm recording and stuff, but I didn't have it on this time. So I'm going to back this down. Let's just strike a chord. I'm probably at like 2. Pretty cool. So again, we're just backing the gain down to get more of a rock tone, to get a little bit more clarity. Okay, so now we're using an amp sim with the exact same settings you can see on screen here. Check it out. We're using kind of like a Marshall sim here. And this is, by the way, real quick, this is the Empire from PreSonus Studio One. I've been using Studio One, PreSonus Studio One Pro for probably since like 2009, and I don't even have their most updated version. I think this is 5. I think they have 6 out now. So Empire is a plugin that comes with PreSonus, and I'm just using, I didn't really change anything, I'm just using their basic Marshall sim here. So again, let's take a look at the EQ settings really quickly here. Presence, I've got it boosted just like we had on the amp. Bass straight up and down, got the mids boosted a hair. I've got my treble boosted to around 7. Okay, my preamp, which is our gain in this case, you can see that's at about 4. I am not using any pedals, any effects, or anything. And I'm just using the default cab, the default IR and mic and cab sim that comes with this package here. So yeah, this isn't even the latest Empire here. And I just kind of wanted to share, okay, well, let's just use, I don't want to say a bad amp sim, because I mean, hey, it's useful for writing, but it's definitely not like the Neural DSP or the Positive Grid and some of the other more premium amp sims you have out there. I just wanted to use this as a good demonstration on getting this rock tone with these same settings that we used with a real amplifier. Now, why is it important to back the gain down every now and then? And I'm not saying you have to do this. I'm not saying should or shouldn't, but I just kind of want to challenge you a little bit. If you're like me and you play metal most of the time, and some of you watching my channel, you play extreme metal, sometimes when we play extreme styles of music, that's kind of all we will play. It's like we can't play anything else outside of that. My challenge to you is try backing the gain way down. Reason number one is because it's going to challenge you to play something different. And maybe I shouldn't even say the word challenge. It's going to bring something out within you that's going to sound different. That's probably a much better way to put that, because we have a lot of really cool things, creative ideas, and just things that you don't even know it's inside of you. And sometimes when you try something a little different from your norm, well, that's going to come out in a different way, in a different light. It's like, whoa, I didn't even know I had this style in me. And it does not mean that you're going to completely change your style of playing. What it does mean, though, is now you're going to have what you normally play with this addition of this new thing that just came out. Another reason why I want to challenge you to back the gain down every now and then is because it's going to add more clarity to your playing. And again, I'm not talking about playing, the tight metal riffs and the chunky power chords and just the ultra low note heavy stuff that we all love so much. Look, I'm always going to love heavy metal. I'm always going to love that style. But when you back the gain down and you start implementing some of those full chords in there and just some different things with the different strings, it's like, oh, okay, well, this actually sounds cool. It just opens up a new pathway for you. On the same note, no pun intended, well, the pun's always intended. On the same note, though, seriously, like, I even recommend breaking out the acoustic guitar every now and then as well. You could also do this on acoustic every now and then too. But I say all that, guys, to say this: give yourself the freedom. I've said this before many times on my lesson videos. Give yourself the freedom to do other things, to just kind of reach inside and pull out some other stuff that might be hiding in there. Music's a beautiful thing. Guitar's a beautiful thing. And I want to end by just encouraging you to play what you feel. Allow yourself that freedom to have those things come out and blossom. And it's only going to add to what you're already doing. Well, it'll expand on that, you might even say, okay, well, I played some rock tones and I played some acoustic. Then you go back to whatever subgenre of metal that you mainly play, and you're like, whoa, okay, this over here actually helped me bring some new ideas to the table. So that's a cool thing. Now, of course, if you saw this video and you already mainly just play rock and roll, well, hey, here's a new tone that I hope you enjoy. And I would tell you, maybe crank the gain up every now and then and try something different, right? Just try some new things. Give yourself that freedom to just branch out and blossom and really create. I believe that's what we were created to do, is to create. So I want to encourage you, keep creating, guys, and keep playing music.